The Golden State Warriors are facing a monumental turning point. With the departure of Klay Thompson, a cornerstone of their success for over a decade, the team's future hangs in the balance. Steph Curry, the greatest shooter and point guard in NBA history, carries the immense pressure of keeping the Warriors at the top. As he continues to rewrite the record books, the unproven Jonathan Kuminga is thrust into the spotlight, tasked with filling the irreplaceable void left by Thompson. The stakes couldn't be higher. This transition will either make or break the Warriors' legacy.
The Warriors, they're in Oahu for training camp, so we thought we'd bring maybe some of that aloha spirit to NBA today, because here's Steph Curry receiving traditional leis from the BYU Hawaii team, and on the first day of training camp, getting some shots up with the leis on as well. And we are all envious of Kendra Andrews' assignment this week. Sis, next time, look at that backdrop. Just sneak me on in your bag. I can fit. I'll go with you. But the reality, Kendra, of life without Klay Thompson, it is setting in Hawaii at the Warriors training camp. So what is the biggest challenge that Steve Kerr is facing right now?
Yeah, Malika, that is just figuring out who his starting lineup is going to be. Yesterday, Steve Kerr said, look, the only two guys who know they have starting jobs are Stephen Curry and Draymond Green. Other than that, he is looking at all possible combinations to figure out not only who his best starting group would be, but also the best second unit. There are a lot of little battles to watch at the 5, at the 3, but the most interesting one, Malika, is at that starting 2-guard position, the one that, of course, we all know used to belong to Klay Thompson.
I want Wiggs shooting, 6, 7 threes a game. I want Brandon. I want Moses. I want DeAnthony. I want to be a high-volume three-point shooting team. I think that's important for us. And the big shift is Klay's not here, right? So we were 4th in the league in three-point attempts last year, but Klay probably shot 8 or 10 of them himself every game. So we're going to have to fill that void, and that's going to come from multiple people.
Defensive-minded guy like Melton. You got a guy that's kind of a connector, can put the ball on the floor, create with BP. Obviously, me and BP started a couple times last year. You got Buddy who can shoot, space the floor, veteran who knows how to play. You got a lot of options. I don't know. And then how with the backcourt in combination with our front court with size and versatility, there's a lot of things that we got to figure out this camp. To summarize it, I like where we're at with our options though, because I know with this roster we're going to have a lot of different takes on it as we go through the season, and I'm confident that we can adjust depending on who gets that role.
It looks like we may have a little bit of an issue here. Kendra frozen there in Hawaii, which, there's worse places. I don't know if you can actually be frozen in Hawaii. There's worse places to be. We'll check back in with Kendra in a second. But you guys couldn't see it, but as we were listening to Steve Kerr and Steph Curry there, Bobby was going through a roller coaster of his own.
I was.
What were you thinking?
I actually went back to 2013.
Okay.
After we had made the Boston trade, we're in Duke having training camp, and our second unit destroyed our first unit. And what happened was we had too many players. Our depth was too much. And I think when you look at this Golden State team, is there too much depth to this roster? And let me explain it real quick.
That sounds like, is there too much cake for dessert?
And I love roster versatility and I love depth. When you look at this Golden State roster, you could say that 12 out of the 14 players on this team can actually start for Steve Kerr. And does he have too many options to pick from here? The good thing is he just went through this with Team USA in the Olympics as far as from an option standpoint here. So that's my biggest concern for Golden State, is managing expectations of some of the players on this bench who maybe think they should be starting but are going to be in a reserve role here.
Perk, what are your thoughts on this?
I heard Kendra say the only two starters, right? The only two players that Steve Kerr named were Draymond Green and Steph Curry when it comes to the starting lineup. What about Jonathan Kuminga, right? Because outside of Steph Curry, if I was the head coach of the Golden State Warriors, I'm definitely coming in thinking about Jonathan Kuminga. I think he's going to be, or needs to be, the second option on this team. The jump that he took last season, going to averaging, around 16 points per game, right? Playing at an elite level, went on the streak, of, having 20, was averaging 20 for a while every single night. He basically changed their offense and made Steve Kerr like do things differently, right? And you start seeing him more in isolations and post-ups and being able to handle the ball. If I'm Steve Kerr, I gotta make sure I put a major focal point on Jonathan Kuminga, right? And on top of that, he hasn't signed a contract extension, so you know he's gonna come into training camp into this season wanting to make a statement, as he should.
I think I'm sorry, Sinead. I think Jonathan Kuminga is the X factor. I think he's the X factor out of this group here. The unknown right now is the leap he'll take from his third year to his fourth year in the league. And I think certainly the rookie extension is something to monitor as we get closer to October 21st if there's not a extension in place. But what happens if Kuminga's coming off the bench? Here comes that versatility, and they have to go big, and Draymond's at the 4, and maybe Kevon Looney or Trace Jackson-Davis is at the 5. What's the mentality of Jonathan Kuminga, certainly from a starting standpoint?
Go ahead, Shanae.
Yeah, to me, I'm going to steal from my favorite Kendrick Perkins lines. They need to find people that are stars in their roles. And to me, I wouldn't settle for coming off the bench if I'm Jonathan Kuminga. The numbers that Perk is talking about, he went from 9 points per game to 16 points per game. And we all read between the tea leaves, where he had to advocate for himself to really get those opportunities for him to have those 20-point per game outputs. Also, it's that man right there, Andrew Wiggins. We've seen what he was able to do back in 2022. He was an all-star that year that they won the championship. So they need those two guys to really feel like they are playing at starter levels. And lastly, the last guy I'm sort of eyeing is Buddy Hield. We all know the role that Klay Thompson played in this Warriors dynasty. This is a guy who, ever since he was drafted, made the second most threes behind Steph Curry.
Right.
So he could really fill in quite nicely to the system that has already been established. Whether it's Wiggins, Kuminga, Hield, those three should emerge as those stars no matter what their role is.
Yeah, I do think it's interesting, though. I would have thought that they would have been more clear about their starting lineup being Curry, Podziemski, Wiggins, Kuminga, and Draymond Green.
Well, especially last year, 27 different starting lineups.
And that was their most consistent one for 13 games.
We're a 46-win team, so there's got to be some clarity going into this season.
Well, and that lineup was 8-6 together, so we'll see.
But with the end of one era comes the beginning of another, led by none other than the greatest shooter ever, Steph Curry. The Warriors have never been afraid of bold moves, but few could have predicted the magnitude of this one. Jonathan Kuminga replacing Klay Thompson. After 13 seasons with the Warriors, Klay's departure left a hole that seemed impossible to fill. His place in Golden State's history is secure: 4 NBA championships, countless game-winning shots, and one half of the legendary Splash Brothers duo. But now the mantle passes to Kuminga. This young star, barely scratching the surface of his potential, is expected to take on the responsibilities that come with playing alongside the likes of Steph Curry. At 6 with a 7-foot wingspan, Kuminga offers a physicality and defensive prowess that Thompson never quite matched. His explosiveness in transition and ability to guard multiple positions bring a new dynamic to the Warriors lineup. What Kuminga lacks in Thompson's three-point efficiency, he compensates for with sheer athleticism. In the 2023 season, Kuminga averaged nearly 10 points per game while playing just 20 minutes per contest. Imagine what he'll achieve with an expanded role. He's already shown flashes of brilliance. His 3.8.5-inch vertical leap makes him one of the most dangerous players on the break, and his defensive flexibility has allowed him to guard everyone from point guards to centers. But replacing Klay Thompson isn't just about stats. It's about chemistry, leadership, and understanding the flow of the game. Kuminga's challenge will be to step into the massive shoes Thompson left behind, all while creating his own legacy. Is Kuminga ready for this? Can he truly step up in the most crucial moments when the Warriors need him to? Those are the burning questions that linger. So even as Kuminga rises to the challenge, there is one man who remains the anchor of this franchise: Steph Curry. Steph Curry, the name that is etched in basketball history for eternity, the greatest shooter the game has ever seen. But shooter doesn't even begin to capture the magnitude of his impact. Curry has fundamentally changed the way basketball is played. His mastery of the three-point shot has forced entire teams and coaching staffs to rethink their approach to defense. No longer can they sag off the arc, and no longer can they rely on old-school defensive schemes. Because with Curry, every shot, no matter how far from the hoop, feels like a dagger through the heart of the opposing team. Let's talk about the numbers. Curry has hit a record 3,747 three-pointers in regular season games, an astronomical feat that once seemed impossible. The closest contenders: Ray Allen with 2,973 and James Harden trailing behind at 2,940. And the gap only widens as Curry barrels toward his next target, 4,000 made threes. The NBA world watches in awe. He's averaging 4.8 made threes per game, and with 253 more to go, it's not a matter of if he'll break the 4,000 mark, but when. ESPN projects that by mid-February 2025, Curry will set yet another record, leaving the rest of the league scrambling to catch up. But it's not just the quantity of shots that makes Curry deadly, it's his precision. Throughout his career, Curry has maintained a jaw-dropping 42.6% shooting percentage from beyond the arc. In a league where shooting 35% from three is considered elite, Curry is operating in another dimension entirely. His consistency from deep is unrivaled, and when he gets hot, there's simply nothing any defense can do to stop him. For over a decade, Curry has redefined the possibilities of long-range shooting. Coaches have had to rethink their defensive strategies, knowing that Curry can shoot in shots from anywhere on the court. No one in NBA history has altered the landscape of the game quite like Steph Curry. But what makes Curry even more remarkable is that his influence isn't limited to shooting. Is Curry just the greatest shooter in NBA history? Absolutely not. He's much more than that. Steph Curry has earned his place as the greatest point guard to ever grace the hardwood. Forget Magic Johnson. Forget John Stockton. Curry's ability to orchestrate an offense, set up his teammates, and make game-altering decisions in a split second makes him the greatest floor general in the history of the NBA. Let's talk about assists. In 2024, Curry became the first Warrior to surpass 6,000 career assists in regular season play, a remarkable feat for a player known primarily for his shooting. But this is where Curry separates himself from the rest. Not only does he lead his team in scoring, but he also creates opportunities for those around him, often in spectacular fashion. In fact, Curry's ability to command an offense has put him in rare company. Only 7 other players in NBA history have at least 23,000 points and 6,000 assists. Names like LeBron James, Oscar Robertson, and Jerry West. But none of those players combine their playmaking with such devastating shooting ability. What's more, Curry continues to dominate at an age when most players are declining. Even at 36, he remains one of the most feared players in the league. In a recent poll of NBA executives, Curry was named the player who forces opponents to adjust their game plans more than any other. 40% of the league's general managers voted Curry as the most difficult player to defend against. Not bad for someone who's supposedly nearing the twilight of his career, right? With Curry at the helm and Kuminga rising, the Warriors' future looks unstoppable. So what does the future hold for the Golden State Warriors? With Steph Curry continuing to break records and solidifying his legacy, Jonathan Kuminga is set to be the perfect complement to his leadership. This new era is not just about maintaining the Warriors' dominance, it's about redefining what's possible with a combination of veteran experience and youthful energy. Kuminga's rise as a versatile defender and explosive scorer will give the Warriors an edge they haven't had before. His ability to guard multiple positions will take pressure off Curry, allowing the superstar to focus more on his offensive production. And make no mistake, with Kuminga stepping into the role once held by Klay Thompson, the Warriors will have the firepower they need to compete for championships. With Curry's continued dominance and Kuminga's explosive potential, the Warriors remain a team no one can afford to ignore. As they gear up for the upcoming season, their eyes are set on one goal, another NBA championship. And the question isn't whether they have the talent, the real question is, can anyone stop them? The Warriors are entering a new era, but one thing remains the same: Steph Curry's undeniable greatness. As the greatest shooter and point guard in NBA history, Curry's legacy is already secure. But with Jonathan Kuminga stepping into the spotlight, the Warriors are poised to continue their reign atop the league. Can Kuminga truly fill the void left by Klay Thompson? Will Curry's historic dominance from beyond the arc carry the Warriors to yet another championship? Only time will tell, but one thing is clear: this team is as dangerous as ever. And with Curry leading the charge, there's no telling how high they can go.